Hello everybody, welcome back to Bramski Vlogs. Matt here with another video, a familiar feature. It is the ski interviews, but it is under a brand new name. After the poll that we put up the other way, you guys have made your voices heard and it has now been renamed to Slope Talk. So this is our first version of Slope Talk and I'm really excited. Today's topic, we're going to be discussing investing and running a ski property. My guest today is going to have quite a bit of experience within that area. He has a property that they run out in Japan, in Myoko, and alongside that, he also does a number of in investing, and he runs a YouTube channel alongside that. He's known as the Adventurous Investor on YouTube. So I'm delighted to welcome today's guest, and that is Neil Denize.
Hey, cheers for the intro.
How was the intro? Did you like it?
Fantastic. No, that was great. Cheers for having me on, mate.
No, it's a pleasure. Obviously, we've sort of traded messages a couple of times on each other's channels, and yeah, this was something which I really wanted to cover at some point. So thanks for coming on.
No, likewise, it's awesome to be here.
So we kick things off always with an opportunity for the guests to introduce themselves. Firstly, tell us where you are right now, and then just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sweet. So right now I'm in Tasmania, in Australia. That's where my wife's from. So we've been here since end of March last year, which COVID obviously brought us back from Japan into the previous winter season. And yeah, been busy doing all sorts of things. We've recently had a little boy, so he's just turned 5 months old. So that's been a whole awesome little challenge.
Congrats.
Moving into yeah, cheers, mate. Moving into parenthood, loving being a dad. It's awesome. It's the best gig going, I reckon. And yeah, I've started the Adventurous Investor YouTube channel last year. I think it was around June or possibly July last year. To be honest, I hadn't really looked at much YouTube investing related content before, and then as I was forced into lockdown, I started diving into the world of YouTube a bit, and then yeah, that's when I sort of thought I'd try my hand at it, and away I went. And then I come across your channel. I can't remember exactly when, which maybe September, or I think I watched one of your first videos where you were just talking about what it's like to do a ski season or something like that. Yeah. And I thought you summed it up perfect. I was like, mate, that's bang on. That's exactly what it's like to work a ski season overseas. So I thought that was awesome. But yeah, that's just a very brief backstory. And then yeah, we own and operate a couple of ski lodges in Myoko in Japan. Been doing that the last sort of couple of years, but obviously COVID's sort of thrown a bit of a spanner in the works there. But yeah, happy to discuss anything you want to sort of yarn about that or anything else.
Yeah, sure. I mean, let's focus like the basics of skiing first. I mean, how did you get into skiing in the first place?
I'm more of a snowboarder, actually.
Oh, okay, right. Thanks for watching. Yeah, that was a very short interview. Bye.
No, I do both. I do ski and snowboard, but definitely the love is for snowboarding. I wish I started when I was, like 5 or 6 or something, but I definitely didn't. I started when I was 21. I was working for an adventure caving company back in New Zealand, actually. Originally from New Zealand. And a lot of my mates there that I worked alongside, they were all keen surfers and snowboarders, and they sort of took me under their wing, and I went up to Ruapehu in the North Island. It's the main sort of mountain in the central part of the North Island there. Horrific conditions. Sometimes it's like icy and, typical New Zealand conditions. But if you hit it on a good day, bluebird day, you get views out to the coast. Some amazing terrain too, especially once you start sort of venturing past the ski ropes a little bit. There's some fantastic sort of good backcountry access, hike up to the top of the volcano and actually ski into the crater, actually, which is awesome. And then, yeah, I just fell in love with it. From there, took off overseas after that season, did a few winter seasons, did one in Colorado, then went off to Canada, as a lot of Aussies and Kiwis do, showed off to Canada to work over there for a couple of winters. Then went off to Switzerland, actually. And then after that, this was 2010, I think. Went to my first season in Japan and just really fell in love with Japan. And the amount of snow that they get there was the deepest I've ever been and ever have been, like, to date. So and then took a few years off, and then went back out in, I think it was 2012, 13 season maybe. Did my first season in Niseko, working for a little ski lodge up there, little backpackers, and then did a few seasons after that, about 3 seasons after that, and then 2018 we bought our little ski lodge in Myoko. That's sort of, and then there's been other seasons where I've worked in New Zealand and Australia, did a season at Threadbow as well, but just fell in love with it, as I'm sure you and a lot of your probably viewers, you know, once you sort of get that bug for skiing and snowboarding in the mountains, it's hard to sort of kick that, and then trying to really sort of shape our life around that was the goal, essentially, and we've pretty much done that. And then COVID sort of come along, but you know, short term, you know, we're looking out next season. This season's probably going to be a bit of a dud, but you know, moving out hopefully the next season, things are looking a lot brighter.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we were saying just before we came on air that you know, obviously, that once you start doing seasons and you start living life in the mountains, it's hard to go back to anything else, right?
Very much so.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about Myoko, though. So how did you sort of stumble across Myoko, and you know, obviously, you know, what made you sort of stay there and choose that as the place to sort of really build your life?
Yeah, good question, man. So the first season I did in Japan was in Gunma, so in the main island Honshu there, and I got the chance to ski around and try a lot of different ski areas as I was teaching skiing and snowboarding. But for actually Kiwi-run company called Canyons, predominantly focusing on rafting and canyoning in the summer months, but over the winter they have a little ski school. So it was awesome. I got to see a lot of the little smaller sort of resorts in and around Honshu. And it was that season that I was working with a few other guys that ended up just staying on in Japan, and they ended up buying a little house in Myoko in 2017. And then I got in touch with him and just started harassing him a little bit about, you know, what was the process, how did that look like, and prices and everything, and sort of went from there and got in touch with a couple of the other guys actually on the ground in Myoko. And then I penciled in a trip. I'd just come back from work. I was working in WA off Western Australia there, working offshore in the oil and gas sector. And then one of my R&Rs, I just sort of jumped on a flight and went on over there. And it's only by sheer luck that we come across the first lodge that we picked up in, I think we signed, was maybe September or possibly even October of 2018. We managed to get that one over the line. And then it was all systems go, trying to get everything in order for that season. So we had to get our rear cam license, which is quite a headache because you just don't know what you're doing and you just sort of figure it out as you go. And I'm definitely not fluent in Japanese, so that was a challenge as well. But I'm always sort of trying to work on the Japanese, but picking up a language doesn't come naturally to me, unfortunately. But I've got Duolingo, so that keeps me keeps me honest. Keep chipping away on that. I think I'm at hang on, I'll check. I'm at 590 days or something streak on that.
Could you understand something though? Like if someone spoke to you in Japanese?
Yeah, that's so I can understand probably about maybe 50-60% of what's been said, enough to sort of understand if we're having a basic conversation, yes. Yeah. But replying is where I sort of get tripped up a little bit. That's what slows me down. Or if I do reply in my broken sort of Japanese, then all of a sudden they might pick up their speed and start rattling back at me, and I'm like, whoa. Actually, on the phone is incredibly tough. In person, I'm a lot better because you can pick up. And generally, if I'm going somewhere, ordering something or something related to the lodge, like I'm there for a reason and I know what I'm doing and I can sort of prepare what I'm going to say. But if it's on the phone, you're going blind. You're like,
yeah.
But no, it's amazing how far you can get by with knowing very limited Japanese, to be honest. A lot of the other lodge owners, a lot of Aussies and Kiwi-run lodges in Myoko, and they speak less than me, and they managed to get by. I mean, we're quite lucky. We've got a couple of Japanese friends that help us out a fair bit as well, especially for the finer details of insurance and with the rear car license as well. That's quite an involved process getting the hotel license to operate, so you can host guests.
Yeah,
and then you need that in order to list on Airbnb and Booking.com and Expedia and all the other OTAs.
Mm.
So yeah, that's a real basic sort of overview on it anyway.
Yeah. Well, it really sort of, I noticed it so much almost immediately when I was in Niseko. Obviously the strong portion of Aussies and Kiwis that resided there, they worked there, they owned property there. And in particular on that one, like I'm quite interested, and you'd be able to explain this, is obviously what makes investing in property in Japan such an attractive proposition.
Definitely, like if you're talking Niseko and Hakuba, the prices are quite expensive. You know, you're paying almost what you're paying, not quite, but comparative to Queenstown, New Zealand, or I'm not too sure what the prices are in Europe, but you know, the prices are definitely inflated a fair bit. If you were buying probably 15 years ago, different story. But Myoko itself is definitely sort of, you know, everyone's been to Niseko, or everyone's heard of Niseko or Hakuba. That's sort of two hotspots in Japan, let's say, for ski tourism. And then Myoko and Nozo Onsen are the sort of the next ones on the list, let's say. But the property prices in Myoko where we are haven't got to those highs yet. So it's definitely attractive prices for our property. Your money goes a long way, you know, for what you compare it to, especially here in Australia. Like if you're looking at property, not non-ski related, let's say Sydney or any city in Australia, essentially you're looking at $1 million plus for maybe a 2-3 bedroom unit, or maybe even only a 1 bedroom unit. Whereas a fraction of that you can buy a full blown ski lodge. It doesn't take much to make the numbers work. Let's say you don't have to to make that. But you're buying an old ski lodge essentially. Like our lodge was built in '89. It's on a good sized block. It's a 2,200 square meter section. But it's quite a Western style lodge as well. You've got you know, all the toilets are Western style, so you don't have those sort of squat toilets that a lot of the old Japanese sort of lodges have. So that was and it's a nice big open après sort of space as well. Nice big dining hall with two sort of split lounges. So there's a little lounge room for the kids to play on the PlayStation, and upstairs if people want to read a book, or we've got a little sort of self-service bar there. People can get a few strongies or beers or whatever they might want to have at the end of the day. So you're essentially buying property at a fraction of the cost of what you would be if you were to compare it to something here in Australia or New Zealand. And but then on the flip side of that, what you can charge for a nightly basis is very similar to what you could charge here in Australia and New Zealand as well. I mean, the average sort of dorm bed where we are is around anywhere from sort of 4,500 to 5,000 yen a night, which depending where you're from, that works out to be around $65 Australian a night just for a dorm bed. And then for a twin, you're looking, depends on which end, if you're at the budget end or the high end, you know, that goes from anywhere from 150 to some places even charging 300 or 400, especially if you're right up in Akakura, which is the main sort of part of town, I guess, for Myoko. It's sort of spread out across, similar to Niseko, the mountain's broken into 4 different ski resorts, and then you've got a small little club field on the far end as well. And we're sort of smack bang in the middle of it. Niki no Taira is where we're based, which is a nice sort of family, mellow sort of it runs. There's nothing crazy. I mean, you've got some nice little tree runs that no one sort of gets into, which is awesome for people that can ride those. But the pick of it would probably be Suginohara or Suginozawa, depends how you want to skin that. And that's got some fantastic terrain, especially once you get into the trees, and an amazing terrain park, actually. I don't know if you ride park or not, but there's a lot of these little Japanese shredders over here that just absolutely running rings around us in that park. It's just down one whole run is just dominated with park features, mainly rails and boxes and such, and a few little kickers here and there. But and I don't mind having a little run in the park as well myself. So that's just a basic sort of overview of Myoko anyway.
No, well, it sounds like it sounds like a sort of a really nice, small but friendly, welcoming resort. And obviously, the quality of the snow is such an attraction for a lot of the skiing in Japan. I know you've done a video on this yourself on your channel, but just talk us a little bit through the process of buying the ski property from a foreign investor's point of view.
Cool. So there's no restrictions, which is awesome. Like other parts of Asia, like Thailand or Vietnam or anything like that, you've got to be like a 50% owner with someone local, or marry a local, let's say. With Japan, there's no restrictions. Anyone can own property freehold, which is a great thing. Makes life easy. And actually buying the property is probably one of the most easiest parts of the whole process, is buying that property, just like you would buy a property back in the UK or wherever you may be from. There is one, you do have to allow probably about an extra 10% in transactional costs when you acquire the property. because both the buyer and the seller have to pay the real estate agent in Japan. So that's something you've sort of got to be wary of. So you've got to allow anywhere from 3 to 5% of the total property price for extra to pay the real estate agent. We were quite lucky. And it's also up to the real estate agent how much he charges you as well. He can sort of say 3% or 5% or,
Okay.
or even some of them. Some of these guys you've got to watch because they'll jack it up to 6-7%, even though they're not allowed to. We were quite lucky. Our real estate agent was actually quite good. So he only charged us the 3%. And then you also have to pay a 3% acquisition tax on top of the property, but that's not due till about 6 months actually after the property settles. And then you've got to obviously pay the scrivener and the lawyers to transfer over the paperwork and everything. But yeah, both our properties are freehold, but there's lease agreements as well if you're not getting a freehold property, which I would sort of steer clear of those. It's a lot easier if you own it sort of freehold. There is a few properties for sale around where we are, but it's under the banner of the ski resort. So then you've got to pay them a monthly or a yearly fee, or even the onsens as well. That's another sort of just an annoying fee that you've got to pay every month to have access to the onsen, which is a bit of a niggle. So we don't actually have any onsen taps connected to our place, but a lot of the older sort of lodges do have the onsen, which is a nice feature to have in your lodge or whatever it may be. But then you might be paying, Ichiman yen, or you could even be paying 20 or 30, even 40, 50,000 yen a month just to have access to these onsen pipes, which is just a niggly bill. And then with regards to all the rest of the bills, like insurance we're paying, I think it's around 15,000 yen a month for our insurance, which works out to be, depending where you're from, let's say $200 Australian for our monthly insurance, just on the lodge itself. And you can insure it for a lot more than what you actually pay for it, because if you're paying for rebuild costs, it's going to be a lot more than generally what you brought the property for originally. So there's that. Your rates are actually really cheap. Rates for us, for both properties, they're only 120,000 yen a year. So that works out to be around sort of $1,500 Australian for rates. That's both, for the house and the land and everything. There's nothing more attached to that. This is only for Myoko. Like, it depends where you are and what, it might be slightly different in Akaba or Niseko, but generally where we are, that's the rules and the pricing there. The big things, especially for running a lodge over the winter months, is the power. Power is super expensive. That is one thing that you may not be, if you're running your Excel spreadsheet to how much beds do I have to fill to make this sort of work. Yeah. Is the power. We're paying on average around 100,000 yen a month for just for the power, and then also the toyu on top of that as well. A lot of our kerosene, we're paying probably close to 80 to 100,000 as well a month just for our heating of the water, and then our gas as well for cooking as well. We have a couple of gas tops in the kitchen, and so all up just utilities, you're looking around 200,000, maybe 250 if it's been a super busy month for all your power and heating and everything. And that's for running a nice, warm, cozy lodge where you want to be. I mean, some guys try and rein that in, and the lodge is not so warm and that sort of thing, but we try and create quite a nice, warm atmosphere. We actually installed a heat pump, which definitely saved us a fair bit. The previous owners didn't have a heat pump, which I was sort of shocked that they didn't. And we're trying to, I think over time, we'll probably try and transition more away from the burning the kerosene, just because it's a bit of a dirty sort of a fuel to be burning, to be honest. And it kind of has a bit of a smell. We have a few plumbed in heaters, and a lot of our guests sort of, I mean, they're okay with it because most of the lodges are sort of heated by the kerosene heaters, but I don't know, trying to get a transition away from that to more the heat pump way, I think will be what we'll do moving forward for us.
Yeah. It's I mean, from what seems to be quite what interesting is one thing you've said as well is just how there's not any restrictions. And I mean, what I'm hearing in Revelstoke right now, there's all these kinds of discussions going on over issues around foreign investors, and also the amount of housing going on that's available for seasonal workers. So, I mean, Japan as a destination, as sort of a ski destination, I think it's still very much 10, sort of 15 years behind everywhere else in that sense.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's good. Oh, sorry.
No. Go on.
Oh no, it's good. Like I said, Myoko is sort of the up and coming. Everything's not well developed. Like in Niseko, it feels like any other resort in the world essentially. Whereas Myoko, it's kind of nice coming in from the bottom. There's still a lot of room for opportunity. There's still a lot of cheap lodges around. Well, not a lot. They are getting snapped up, to be honest. I've had a few people reaching out through the channel actually, like, I want to buy a lodge. And it's quite hard. You really need to be on the ground to actually find a lodge, or even if you just want to buy a little house for yourself, little holiday home sort of thing, you kind of need to be there on the ground. And then you've got the snow clearing over the winter months as well, which you've got to sort of factor into it a fair bit. If you're not there, then you're having to pay someone to snow clear and such. And the snow's a little bit heavier than what you have in Niseko as well, a little bit moisture and you're getting, Myoko sort of averages around 15 meters a season, which is a fair bit of snow to be dealing with over the winter months. But like I said, it's kind of nice to be at that base level. There's a lot of room for growth in the town where we are, and there's a lot of opportunity. If you're keen to start up a business, there's a lot of different little businesses that need to be set up essentially. Just even new bars and restaurants and that sort of thing. There's definitely a shortage of that where we are, and the ones that there are there, they are flat chat because they just can't really sort of keep up with the demand. This is obviously prior to COVID, other side of COVID. It's yet to be known how that looks, but. It was definitely quite busy.
Well, Neil, if you do know anybody that's wanting to obviously buy a lodge in Myoko and then they need somebody to run it, you know who to come and speak to.
I'll give you a bell. We might actually be looking for a manager. Definitely not this season, but now with having the little boy Finn, we sort of want to try and take a little bit of a step back from it because we're definitely part of the running the day-to-day operations of the lodge. We're definitely in there, in the morning making brekkie and making beds and transferring guests, and it's quite a busy sort of place. We're lucky we had some amazing staff these last season, but the two prior to that, we had some really good staff, which we were hoping they were all keen to keep coming back, but now with COVID, they've sort of moved on with their lives a little bit maybe, so we may have to start looking again.
Well, let's get into
I'll keep you in mind.
Yeah, keep me in mind for sure.
For sure.
Let's get into actually though the running of the property. So you've completed all the process. You've bought the property, and now you need to start running it. What was that like from sort of day one?
We were the first season. It was a mad rush getting our license. Like I mentioned just briefly before, we got our hotel license, the Ryokan, which is depending on the size of the lodge, the scale of what license you need. You can get away with a Minpaku license, which is good for, I can't remember the square meterage, but a lot of people just use that. And then you can still advertise on Airbnb and Booking.com and all the rest of it. But for ours, because it's a small ski lodge. So we have 10 guest rooms. But we didn't get our license till the 29th of December, and that was 2018. And then it was a mad rush, like trying to get it all uploaded onto everything and getting everything married up under the one calendar through the website. There's a lot going on there. But we managed to get that all over the line. And we did actually have a few other bookings just through that we'd sort of generated through other leads. And actually from doing a few seasons in Niseko ourselves, a lot of the guests that stayed at the lodge there, they'd got in touch with us and said, we'd love to come check it out and want to come to Myoko. And so that was awesome. So we did actually have a few other bookings lined up. And that was more of a soft season for us. We still had actually quite a few bookings, and we made a profit the first season, which was awesome, which we weren't sort of really expecting. But it ended up being quite a busy season. But that season was just myself, my wife, and then we had one staff member. And then the 2019-2020 season, we had both me and my wife, and then we had 4 other staff as well, which was pretty good. That worked out well. So the way we do it, both me and my wife work every day, but we try and minimize it. I like to snowboard as much as I can, like essentially nearly every day. That was one of the draw cards for, doing this, was to give myself a lot of time to ski and snowboard myself, as well as my wife as well. So the staff, we do it the day on, day off. So, one day that, you'd be doing shuttles or dropping guests off, snow clearing, helping out with breakfast. Generally, I'd be doing the one sort of cooking brekkie, just as basic sort of light brekkie in the morning for everybody, which is included, which most of the lodges do. Some don't, but we've only got the one sort of kitchen, which we open up for guests. People can come and cook their own dinners, which a lot of our guests quite like that feature, especially because we get quite a few families coming through, mum, dad, and the kids sort of scenario. Makes it a little bit more affordable. They can just we do runs to the supermarket and stuff, which is quite close to where we are. So they buy a heap of food, and we've got a heap of fridges and things, and they can just cook it up in the evenings. And it's a lot easier than bundling all the kids up and taking them down to the restaurant and coming back. Like, end of the day, they can sort of stay there, which is nice, which works actually quite well. I was surprised. I thought, oh, maybe, people will leave dishes and it'd be a mess that I'll have to tidy up, but it generally works pretty good. Like, the kitchen gets kept in a pretty good shape for us, which people were sort of, oh, I wouldn't do that, the kitchen will get trashed, but it works pretty good for us, so we haven't had too many dramas there. And then we also have a little bar as well, like a little self-service bar, which also works quite well as well. We just have a small little bar fridge, and then just a tick and flick honesty system, which people just sort of tick, which is great, because that way we don't have to man it. The evenings are free. We're not there like pouring beers or, which works quite well. And then people can buy their own beers if they want to buy their own beers, or get some from the fridge, which generally worked pretty good as well. There was no sort of dishonesty there. Everyone was generally pretty good. If it was us, if we're having a few beers, we'd forget to chalk it up. Well, geez, but that's kind of how we sort of, we don't. We do shuttle a few people around depending on where they want to go throughout the day. There is a pretty good bus system. Needs a little bit of improvement. It's not as good as Niseko. I know the bus system in Niseko is pretty good. You can sort of be staying anywhere in the village there and get access to either Hanazono or up there. It's not quite as good in Myoko, and it costs you 500 yen each way. So it's a little bit expensive. I think just for you're only going 2Ks up the road, but for a holiday maker, it's not too bad. So we do run the odd shuttle, for our guests if they want to go to Sugi or Akukura or wherever they may want to ski for the day. We sort of drop them off, but try and do that first thing in the morning, so then the day is free for ourselves to either do changeovers or picking up new guests or skiing or snowboarding ourselves.
Yeah, nice.
That's the basic day-to-day operations of it all anyway. But it's a busy, and then you've got snow clearing and but it's good. I love it though. It's each day's I don't know. I definitely it's awesome. Like, it's kind of like a dream come true, I guess.
No.
By the end of the season, I'm pretty tired though. Like, it's a long, as you work in the industry, you know what it's like. 3 months or 4 months or however long your season is. By the end of it, you're pretty tired from just hosting people, and it's a good scene though. I really enjoy it, and all our guests are amazing. We pretty much all our guests are awesome. They're there to have a good time and enjoy the snow. And generally, I try and rein the noise in around 10, 11 o'clock, so then I can get a good night's sleep, which is quite good if we've got a good mix of families and Australians. If you get too many Australians, the parties tend to go on a bit later sometimes.
I've been to 2 ice hockey games since being here, and there's a contingent in the far left-hand corner of the beer garden, and it is the most noisiest, and they're all Aussies.
Yeah, I know what they're like.
They're all Aussies, but no, they're just there for a great laugh. I mean, you're right. It is a dream, but what would you say is the most challenging part of running the lodge?
It's just dealing with a lot of things that we take for granted, especially here in Australia and New Zealand, like the banking and insurance, and everything is pretty streamlined and everything's online. Like, it's pretty easy to do here for anything, whether it's not for business, just for your own personal insuring a car or anything is quite easy. Whereas in Japan, that's quite an involved process. You wouldn't think, it's easy, just open a bank account, where you go. But we had a lot of struggle just trying to open it's just a simple bank account, and getting a bank account that has online banking is a real struggle. And online banking that is half decent is a real headache. And it's the same thing with a lot of lodge owners. They all sort of have that same sort of struggles. And then just getting international transfers into that bank account, that sometimes the banks flag it as Yakuza activity or something, and it's very hard to navigate the bureaucracy sometimes in Japan. It's painful. If things take a lot longer, I mean, you've spent a season in Japan. I don't know if you got much exposure to it, but things take something that you think would take a day or two takes months. You're like, what are you doing? Shuffling paper, so that's there. And so that can be quite frustrating, especially if you're like, come on, let's get things, time is money here, let's keep things moving. That is probably the biggest frustration. But it's you can work around it all. I mean, that's just part of it, I guess. You just got to be wary of that. It can take, like, to get our Ryokan license for the second lodge we bought last year, that took about 8 or 9 months. to get that over the line. And it depends who you get on the day, and or even for our visa, we've been in the process of applying for a business manager's visa. We've got a company established in Japan, so essentially sponsoring ourselves through that visa, through that company, sorry. But yeah, that's been about a year and a half, and that we've been knocked back once. And then we resubmitted it again, and we just, like I think we said just briefly before we started this, only resubmitted that like 2 weeks ago. So hopefully, and then with that, then both me and my wife, and then my little boy Finn will all be good to stay for that 1 year, and then just keep hopefully extending that visa. But a lot of our friends had that visa, couldn't get back to Japan this last year, so now they've lost this visa, and so they have to go through that whole process again. It's painful sometimes when you're dealing with that side of it all.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. You sort of it's really good actually, because where we are, a lot of all the other lodge owners, we're all pretty new to this. Some of them have been in the game for maybe 4 or 5 years or 2 or 3 years, and we all sort of help each other out a bit, which is awesome. Like to have access to, who do you use for your insurance, or who do you use for, where do you buy vehicles, or your snowblower mechanic, or a range of different things. It's awesome to have that sort of network there. And everyone's quite free. Generally, everyone's pretty good, and there's a little sort of a chamber of commerce essentially set up in town, where we all sort of help each other out. And you've got to do yearly fire drills and all these other things to maintain your license as well. And then a few things for the health department. They've got to come around and inspect funny things, and it's just. But look, I'm not trying to bag it out or anything, but it's definitely a few of the annoyances.
Yeah, no. It's
the pros definitely outweigh the cons, though.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right, especially on the banking thing. And I remember that it was the same if you were just there trying to do the seasonal work on a visa. And I do remember it. You got there thinking this is one of the most technologically advanced countries out there. And it was. I think I remember it was like you had a little book. It was like a little book for your bank account, and it, obviously you had to go in and get that stamped. So, and that was like, gosh.
And then it's like one of those old school printers.
Yeah.
You're like, what? What are we going back 30 years? Like, we're still sending we're sending faxes. Like, we've got a fax machine. Like, who sends faxes?
I don't know if you found this as well, but like the post. I remember not getting one of the, sometimes post just will never turn up. Like it's just gets lost. And, but yeah, I mean, it's good though that there's sort of a community within the area of people that help each other out,
Yeah.
Especially,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're all sort of, obviously we're all in competition a little bit together as well, but it's friendly. Like everyone sort of gets on, and you're pretty flat chat from about mid-December through to about mid-March. I'll catch up with you in March sort of thing, mate, because everyone is this is prior to COVID. Everyone's pretty much booked up, like back to back. One person leaves that morning, you fill in that bed that night sort of thing. There was pretty steady. But yeah, it's great to have that, to catch up with, the lodge owners. Generally at the end of the season, everyone sort of catches up and another good season. Actually, one thing which we've been super lucky with, but a few of the other lodge owners have struggles around staffing as well, because it's such a short season. You're only looking around sort of 2.5, 3 months. They run into a few issues with some of their staff. We've been incredibly lucky. We had amazing staff, which was great for us. But yeah, that's another sort of thing you've got to sort of be wary of. And most of the time, generally, a lot of the other lodge owners, they're like us. They run it themselves as well, but they also need people to help snow care and make beds and just, drop guests off and that sort of thing. Our lodge sleeps 34, and then we have 6 staff as well. So we have 2 guest rooms and then like a third little Harry Potter sort of cupboard for one of the other staff as well.
Yeah. So in Myoko, are you saying then it's a short season?
Well, our first season, the 2018 season, was off the charts. We had like 17, just shy of 18 meters, I think, in total for the season.
Wow.
Yeah, it was hectic. I rocked up. It was the 27th, I think, or the 28th of December. I just come back from work offshore, straight over there. And man, it was straight into it, because we'd already had like 2 or 3 meters of snow. It was an epic season, like snow-wise, it was out of control. And then like the resorts are open till end of March, but generally from about sort of mid or early to mid March, a lot of guests sort of start dropping off. January, February is where that's where you make your money really. You pretty much guarantee you're booked up for January, February, and then a bit of cream if you pick up a few guests, or maybe more sort of local travel, domestic trade, expats living in Tokyo or wherever they may be living. For that sort of end of season, because the snow, you've still got like a 3-4 meter base. They're closing on like a 3 or 4 meter base. Like, it's not due to lack of snow usually. I was like, Australia would be keeping this open for months, sort of thing, if this was back in Aussie or NZ. But yeah, generally it's only like I know Niseko has a slightly longer season. I think they try and stay open till Golden Week, which is like May 7th, I think, from memory, or around there, May 7th, May 10th or something. One of the resorts, Akakura Kanko, they try and stay open until Golden Week as well, but the rest of the resort is all shut down sort of around sort of March 28th, 29th, sort of depending on the season. But it's kind of nice. I like spring in Japan. It's awesome. Like, you've got a good base. It's nice, slushy. The snow's good. Like, the park's running nice. Everything's it's pretty good. From Jan Feb, you're getting that good power. Like all through Jan Feb, it's just tree runs daily. It's just insane. And then it's nice to have a bit of an easier March with not as much snow clearing as well, because
you get to see the sun, which you don't see at all in Japan over like December, January.
Nah. Especially in the Niseko, like you don't see the sun much, Like,
no.
I remember I did one season there. I swear I didn't see it till like Feb. I was like, it's just, and then it come out, and then there was like Yotte. I was like, oh, there's Yotte. That's what everyone talks about.
We knew it was a strange season when I was there, because you saw Yotte so much because of just how sunny it was, and didn't have as much snow. But I think actually it's going to be a similar thing here, because the way the town and the resort is laid out, it's in like this massive valley, and it has its own like different weather system, and there's just always this inversion. So in sort of down on the town area, it's always quite cloudy. So like if you want to actually see some sun, I think depending on the weather, you'd actually have to get on the gondola and go potentially above the clouds to reach it.
Yep. It's a nice town though, Revelstoke. I've been there in the summer. This is about 10 years ago now. More, probably 12, 15 years ago. It's a cool little town, I like it.
It is. It's, I mean, everyone who sort of I've come across in terms of the people are super relaxed, very, just very, very polite and welcoming. And there's a really good vibe and atmosphere about the place. And, quite a lot of history to the town. And just there is quite a lot to do. I mean, considering how the skiing isn't started yet, been sort of joining the hiking club, swimming, going to the ice hockey. So there's lots of stuff that you can do. And obviously I'm yet to explore much of the nightlife, but I'm sure I'll
get out there once in a while.
Once in a while. I'm not as much as sort of maybe previous seasons, but I'm definitely looking to go out and enjoy myself when we can. For sure.
Nice. I've got some friends that run a rafting operation there in Revelstoke, actually. Wobbly Yonder. I think they're all done for the season now. But is it the Silhouette River? I think it is. Is it the main river?
Well, the main river going through is the Columbia River itself. But
is there a Silhouette or something?
There might be another one running off it, I think.
So that's what they've been doing there I think they've been there for maybe 4 or 5 summers. I was working in Canada as a raft guide for 3 summers, just out of Jasper, actually.
Oh, nice.
Grand Cache.
Well,
it was good.
I mean, a lot of, particularly in the summer here, there's a lot of the water stuff's quite popular, and also what struck me is how big the camping culture is.
Huge.
Yeah, it's like everybody's got converted pickup trucks or campers that they tow, and it's
dirt bikes and everything.
Well, there's a massive snowmobiling club here. So they all come in, and apparently it's quite a popular destination for people from Alberta, the neighboring state. So they all drive over, and it's just just looking forward now to the snow and getting up on that lift in a couple of weeks' time.
Nice, mate. Not far off now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, we're sort of slowly wrapping things up a little bit, but obviously you do have a YouTube channel and the Adventurous Investor. Just talk a little bit about that side of your life and the the investing side and what you do there.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, the channel, I'm fairly new to YouTube. I've only been on here for a bit over a year now. But I honestly didn't know there was much investing related content on YouTube. Actually, I used to just watch snowboarding videos on YouTube. But yeah, I've always had a sort of keen interest in investing from a young age. From like sort of, I don't know, or even just as a kid had little businesses and things as some kids do. I was one of those weird kids that had little businesses selling things to his mates. And then just I don't know, over the years I took a pretty keen interest in investing in property actually. Around the ski areas, actually in New Zealand, started in New Zealand, and then got a few rental properties now across Australia and New Zealand, and then obviously the 2 ski lodges in Japan as well now. So that's quite busy having all those. And then started investing into the equity markets. I've been investing in the equity markets for a number of years as well, but especially after this last sort of year and a half of having a lot more time on my hands to being forced to slow down a little bit. Really sort of took a bit more of a deeper dive into that and really sort of gone down the world of value investing a little bit, actually, sort of following essentially the best investors in the world, such as Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and Mohnish Pabrai and all these other sort of value investors that I love to sort of follow and track now and see what they're investing in, and sort of taken me down there, which is awesome. There's a really good community of us actually on YouTube that there's 12 of us that have teamed up for Movember.
Oh yeah.
So we're all growing mows. I haven't actually shaved it in for a couple of days, but yeah, we had a little live stream there on Sunday. So there's a whole crew of us that do it, and we've just generated over $2,000 for Movember, which is awesome.
Mate, that's amazing.
That's really good. Yeah, no, it's so cool, and it's great. Like, I think it needs a lot of light shine on the topic, around men's mental health and then also tackling the 2 cancers for that men suffer from, which is testicular cancer and prostate cancer. Sorry, slipped my mind there. So yeah, that's what we're all sort of jumping in. And like I said, we raised over $2,000 now, which is awesome. So we've set the target of $4,000. So hopefully we crack it by the end of the month.
Oh,
and there'll be some mows hopefully coming through.
If you've got any links to those, mate, send them over and I'll put them in the link so people can donate to that. That's obviously a really, really.
Oh, no pressure. I don't want to pressure you guys at all or anything like that. No,
do it. Everybody do it, or else do it. Mate. So, yeah. But how are you finding YouTube? You enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it. It's awesome. Like chatting to yourself and a few other YouTubers as well, like people that I wouldn't chat to otherwise throughout the channel. And there's so much to be learnt through YouTube. It's as I'm sure you've probably found the same thing. Like when you first start, I had no idea. Like I was very new and novice to it all, and still am to a certain degree. But you slowly start learning about filming and editing. I pretty much had no idea how to edit or anything like that. So it's been, and even just talking as well. Like especially when you're talking about can be sometimes when it comes to investing quite complex sort of things. It's good to sort of you really, once you start saying in front of a camera, you really start realizing whether you know what you're talking about or not. So that's another. And for myself, just being able to practice talking in front of a camera is just another good skill to have as well.
Well, I think for my first 200 videos, I didn't have a clue what I was talking about, to be honest. But like I think when I was sort of starting off, and on the one side, I was sort of always, you're seeing those big YouTubers and you're automatically like comparing yourselves to them, like ones that are either in your field or popular ones. And that's obviously always quite a bad thing to do. But then on the other side of things, I was always like, actually as a platform, it's really great. And, if you just trust in it and just keep posting, keep creating, and bit by bit, you make a little improvement, whether that's your presentation, your editing, your thumbnails, your search engine optimization, whatever it is. And things like, I mean, like you've just said, like building connections with other YouTubers and who share your passions. That in itself is also like really, really exciting, I think,
absolutely,
because you learn off one another as well.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And it's good. Like, I'm not too sure. I don't have many people in my direct life that I talk about investing with. Just even my wife, she's not that interested in it. Like I start talking and she's just like, yeah, right. I can tell she's not interested. But I don't know. It's nice to connect with like-minded people to discuss things, and we all geek off on whatever investing related thing we're talking about that week or whatever it may be. Or even like, I don't know, my channel, I'm not really niching down. I sometimes talk about Japan, or I'm talking about Movember or investing. I haven't, which is probably a part of the downfall of the channel, actually. People don't know what they're getting sometimes.
No, but I think it's I think actually from the outside looking into it, you have got one or two things, but they are kind of connected, because the ski property is, to an extent, it is investing, but also ultimately it's you, and it's from the outside you can see a diverse, dynamic personality to the channel, and that can be quite appealing.
For sure.
But yeah, it's done well, mate. For only being on a year, I was looking at it earlier, because you've done like 130 videos, and you've nearly got 2,000 subscribers, right?
Yeah, just shy of that, I think. Yeah. No, I'm stoked. Like, you fall, like you said earlier, you fall into that trap sometimes where I'm comparing myself to these other YouTubers that pick up 10,000 subs in a week or something. But you don't really want to go down that road. I mean, it's hard not to sometimes, but to be honest, I quite enjoy creating content. It's a nice little creative outlet to have. And like we said earlier, like, just connecting with other like-minded people is one of the, especially for investing, it keeps forcing me to keep reading, keep learning, keep researching, sort of keeping me accountable, I guess. When I try and put out a video a week is my sort of general goal. But obviously life, as you would know, like, it takes a lot of time to make a video sometimes.
It does. Like,
it's insane.
It is. And this weekend was like a classic example. I found this because I didn't film last week. I didn't post anything last week. And I was really annoyed with myself, because probably for about 6-7 weeks, I'd been consistently posting 2 times a week.
Nice, mate. That's good.
Yeah.
Good,
which like, was a pretty good thing. The growth was doing well, engagement was going well, but work had been quite busy.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of stuff, obviously getting ready with the property. And I was just like, didn't really have anything at the start of the week to record. Then I thought, okay, well, I'll take a week off. And then I had the thing to discuss the news about Revelstoke with the vaccinations and the skiing.
That was a great video, by the way, mate. That was like, I watched it this morning and I was like, this is like nicely cut together with the sound and everything. I thought I like your jump cuts. I was like, nice work.
Thanks, mate. Well, that was the challenge, because I basically spent the weekend, I didn't, other than going to the hockey, I was just finding locations to film. And it was bitterly cold this weekend.
Yeah. Oh, Canada gets freezing.
Yeah, it's been getting cold. Like the snow, it was meant to be snowing today down in town, but it's like, I mean, it's literally sort of creeping down day by day. And then, like, I found this really nice location by the river, and it was looking up at the ski mountain. But occasionally I still have a bit of trouble filming outside with people around.
Yeah, so I don't do it.
Yeah. So, every time I'm trying to film, there's people coming past, and you sort of peter out as you're midway through your point. Or there's like a freight train that's going over the bridge. So you're just sort of driving around trying to find other quiet locations to sort of film. But luckily I managed to sort of put it together. But
I think you did a great job. It's awesome. But thanks, it's amazing. Like, even if it's a 5 or 10 minute video, it might take you 12 hours to like stitch it together. And a lot of my early stuff is so rough. Like, it's just, I'm like, it'll do. I'll just get it up, sort of thing.
Well, it's the editing as well, isn't it?
Oh, and then getting the audio quality. Like, I'm running I don't know what you're running. I'm running a pretty basic bare bones. Yeah. Yeah. As a lot of beginner YouTubers are, I think we run pretty bare bones sort of setups. You're working with what you've got. GoPro or even started on, like just filming off my phone. Had it set up on a ironing board in the room, just like talking away.
Yeah.
But even talking to yourself, like that's a skill in itself. Like just talking away to a camera, like it's not a natural thing that we do. Like it takes a while to sort of become comfortable with it.
Yeah. No, it does.
Well, for me anyway, it took a little bit.
Yeah, there was. I had like a little bit of prior experience working in student media, so that kind of gave me a bit of confidence when it came to talking to a camera, but knew nothing about really filming or editing, and sort of still really don't to an extent. And like in the end, you just, like I say, you just got to keep posting and trust that bit by bit things will get better anyway.
Oh, definitely. Once this goes live, mate, I'll send it out on my channel as well, because I've definitely got a few subscribers that take an interest in Japan. So hopefully they come on over. You might pick up an extra couple of subs, maybe.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if we can exchange a few, I mean, I hope people have sort of found this very insightful, and I'll put links to your channel for sure. So, anybody who wants to go check out Neil, they can do so after this video, because some of the content on there, whether you're interested in ski property, skiing in Japan, or investment, there's some great stuff on Neil's channel to go check out.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, mate. So you're hoping that you can get out to Japan, right? Keeping your fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Fingers crossed. Japan's just released only, I think it was last week, actually. We're part of this Facebook group, Returning Foreigners Back to Japan. There's a lot of us on there, and they just come out and said that they've dropped their quarantine restrictions down to 3 days if you're returning to Japan for business. But they haven't sort of come out with what exactly that entails, whether, what do you have to prove to say that you're there for business, or because prior to that you had to basically be a Japanese resident, like have the visa, or be Japanese yourself. Then you could sort of come and go, not freely as it used to be, but so we're hoping with that new change to the restrictions there, we can sneak back in, either probably just after Christmas or maybe in the early New Year, to get back out there, and just to keep tabs on things. Like we haven't been out since March last year, so it's a long time to, just have the lodges sitting there. So it'd be good to get back and keep on top of the snow clearing. And we've got a few guests just local that are in Japan, penciled in to come this season, which is awesome, that stayed with us previous seasons. So they'll be coming back hopefully for a few weeks to help cover the bills a bit. But we're not expecting to make much money this season. I think it's going to be, but it's always good. I love being up there, get some good content, maybe try and for the next season, get some good footage of the area. And I've got a little drone, so I'll try and get that up a bit and get some footage with that, and just keep tabs on things a bit.
There's the drone is on my list of things to get at some point. But
you can't use it many places though. That's the thing. You think, nice, I've got this drone. Or we got the Mavic Pro a few years ago, actually, when we're in the US. I think it was 2017, maybe 17 season, actually. We just went there for a holiday to Tahoe, and got the Mavic Pro. It was a bit cheaper there than buying it here in Australia. And you find you get it, and then everywhere you try and fly it, sorry mate, can't fly that here. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think there's much drone. I don't think that you can fly a drone around Revelstoke because of the helicopters. Because Revelstoke has its own airfield, and there's lots of there's 4 heli companies that operate out within sort of Revelstoke. The big one, CMH, and then you've got 2 or 3 others.
Yeah, I've heard of CMH.
Yeah, CMH have like, I mean, it's crazy actually just how much land sort of area they are permitted to do these heli drops on. But limited drone flying. But I think I read up on this. I think it was a video that Casey Neistat did a while ago, and it was when DJI bought out the Mavic Mini. Because the Mavic Mini was strategically built to weigh something like 240.9 grams or something like that, which was underneath the weight required to fall under FAA restrictions. So, so as my understanding, so you've got a bit more freedom with it. Yeah, I believe so. But again, that they might have brought in new rules for it. But
Yeah, it's
I
we're
did.
flowing ours. Sorry,
No,
we're
no,
flowing
no.
ours a lot of times when we're not allowed to. Just put her
Yeah.
up, and then generally you get away with it.
Yeah, well, if you're in the wilderness,
No one's picking you up there.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you're backcountry. I've taken it backcountry a few times.
Yeah.
And actually got some pretty nice footage actually backcountry out in Myoko.
Yeah.
I snuck out a fair bit. The 2019-2020 season, we snuck into the backcountry a bit. Do you get in the backcountry at all, mate? Do you get out there a bit?
Yeah. No, I mean, I enjoy a number of different types of skiing. You know, I did a racing when I was younger a little bit, but
Nice.
you know, I will do on piste and off piste. I've done a bit of heli skiing, bit of touring, and yeah, no doubt I'll be in. One of the things Revelstoke does have is quite a lot of tree skiing, so I'll be looking to go off piste and enjoy some of that. But
for sure,
yeah, it has though the longest vertical in North America, so it has a green run from the top lift all the way down to the bottom, which is 13 kilometers. Yeah.
but it's all cat track, is it? Just snakes its way down the hill.
I don't know. I think it is literally it's a run right from the top. So
jeez, that's a leg burner.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Now the backcountry is awesome. The way that's something I've sort of only started delving into the last few seasons. I did a Abbey course in New Zealand. When was it? 2019, I think it was. Which got me all pumped to get it back into the backcountry. Well, it actually scared me a lot because it showed me how much I've just been, blatantly not, paying attention out there really. But it was good to get that under the belt to get a lot more awareness out there in the backcountry.
Yeah, Neil, listen, mate, we've got to wrap this up, but I just want to say, obviously, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a really, really enjoyable and interesting discussion. Actually,
Likewise, mate.
Yeah, it's been great to hear about, the sort of your passion for the skiing, how you sort of built the life and going into the process as well of investing in the property, running the property as well. I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to talk about it.
No, awesome, mate. Thanks for having me on. It's been awesome. Great chatting.
Yeah. Well, let's check in again maybe on later in the season. Hopefully you're enjoying
in Japan.
In Japan, enjoying like a 15 meter season there.
Hopefully, definitely, man. Love to.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, Neil.
Awesome, mate. Cheers.
And thanks very much, everybody, for watching today's Slope Talk. I hope you've enjoyed this, found it very, very interesting. Some wide-ranging topics there. And, of course, if you do have any questions for Neil or anything on those topics, feel free to put them in the comment section below. If you did enjoy today, then please like this video. You can also subscribe to the channel. That just helps, obviously, keep things growing. And there's more content coming all the time. We've got ski season vlogs, the Slope Talks that come out on Fridays, the shorts as well, and much, much more. So, thanks very much for watching, guys. Until next time, take care.